Hello, this is Lavistro, Dragon in Cyberspace, coming to you with all news, tips, and tricks within the gaming spectrum. Now, what I have here is a rumor. At the time when I heard about it, I want to stress that. However, it is allegedly confirmed to be true. I haven't looked much into it because I'm trying to. I haven't looked much into it because I had a lot of things going on. But if news comes out, I will cover it in episode 5 of Dragoncast, if it's true. But I want to give credit where credit is due, and say this is something we probably should keep an eye on and watch out for. But I want to give Diversity and Dragons credit for this. He does a Breaking River True about Corin Bush ready to destroy Wizards of the Coast. And instead of stealing his content, I will put the link in the description to it. But I'm going to instead read Smash JT's article here. Exclusive breaking: Corinne Bush hired by Wizards of the Coast Skeleton's Key Studios. In a mood that will no doubt raise eyebrows throughout the entire gaming community, I've been tipped off by an insider at Wizards of the Coast has quietly hired Corinne Bush, the failed director of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, to work at their newly formed studios. According to an anonymous source inside Wizards of the Coast, Bush's hiring wasn't announced publicly, but my exclusive source said specifically, "I just heard a rumor that Corinne Bush was hired at Skeleton Key, but sure enough, I checked my team org charts and he's there. Redacted for anonymity, but I'm not pleased about this turn of events." So Corinne Bush was instead quietly discovered by my source via the company's internal team's org chart after rumors began swirling. Nothing official has been posted publicly by Corinne Bush, WOTC, or Skeleton Key Studios as of the time of this publication. Who exactly is Corinne Bush? For those unfamiliar, Corinne Bush, a biological man who identifies as transgender, was one of the key figures behind Dragon Age: The Veilguard, the failure of a game that was heavily criticized for pushing extreme gender ideology and woke politics at the expense of any kind of quality storytelling and gameplay. All right, so he has his own link, but I'm going to just do this instead. So this is from the Park Place. We covered it a while back, and I believe I covered it in my video before The Veilguard came out. Dragon Age: The Veilguard game director, who describes himself as a queer sexual gender mancer, claims game is inherently queer, right? So down here, it lets you know. Following this announcement, former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kearns, aka Grums, wrote on X, "Bioware Dragon Age has been renamed to Dragon Age: The Veilguard. New gameplay trailer to debut June 11th. I'm hoping for a great game free of modern politics." He didn't include a screenshot of game director Bush locked X accounts, which shows he claims to be a woman, queer sexual gender mancer, and a supporter of Black Lives Matter. And obviously he did. He did put the good, the bad, and queerness, right? So this is from the gamer, praising its homosexuality. Excuse me. His approach alienated longtime fans of Dragon Age series who felt like the game was far more concerned with forced representation than delivering the RPG experience that so many had come to love. The backlash against Veilguard was swift and overwhelming. Electronic Arts reported the game came about 50% short of their sales expectations, and gamers outright rejected its pandering tone and cartoons aesthetic. It marked one of the most embarrassing reveals in BioWare history, and recently that says something. Between Anthem, Mass Effect, Andromeda, and now this over at BioWare, it's left everyone scratching their collective heads, ultimately directly at Bush's lack of leadership as the major factor in the game's ultimate failure to connect with the core audience. All right, so I did mention it before, but here's some Steam reviews. Used to be one of my favorite video game franchises. Is a disappointment to me on so many levels. As a fan from Dragon Age playing from Origins, I used to play the game. I am used to a game which allows me to choose how I want to play it. I beat it. The combat was fun, sure, but at the end of the day, this just can't be a Dragon Age game. It's generic fantasy adventure game, not even a true RPG. There are very few choices that actually matter and have an impact on the outcome of your story. Maybe like 5 in the entirety of the game, and there's really only one narrative path to follow, unlike the previous games. So there's not really any point to replaying as a different faction or race to see content you might have missed out on. So no replay value. It just doesn't exist because they didn't develop them enough. Too long version doesn't feel like a Dragon Age game. It feels like a visual novel. It's like tone. You do not make choices, and I hated it. Also, Tash was awful. Yeah, that's the figurehead of Dragon Age's Tash, right? But I mean, you can look for yourself. I'm not going to lie and say that like all reviews mostly positive. Recent reviews is mixed. So there are some good reviews. You can look it up on Steam yourself. But from the data shows, especially in Dragon Cast episode 4, we covered it. And in the clip I posted that will be showing up tomorrow, in the thumbnail, there is a image of the EA stocks. No, actually, not a suicide. Correction. But you can look it up, and you can also find out the EA stocks are falling. And we covered that BioWare is shutting down offices and jobs, like people are talking about right now. You can see that for yourself and make your own decisions. But moving on, why is Wizard of the Coast hiding this? Bush is hiring at Skeleton Key. Things that they're really kept under wraps, most likely to avoid backlash from the gaming community, hoping any memory of him would just fade into the abyss. And Wizard of the Coast is no stranger to controversy, as it's been handling of Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering over the past few years. It's already put them in a lot of hot water with a lot of longtime fans of the series. Now with Bush on board, it looks like they're doubling down on the same identity-driven approach that has been rejected time and time again by gamers. Nepotism in gaming is a major issue, and DEI, I call it DIE, being under the microscope of so many gamers, it has taken on a life of its own. Fun for a reset, Skeleton Key is led by former BioWare Austin boss Christian Daly, who has described its first project as a AAA title focused on immersive gameplay and storytelling. I can't help but connect the obvious dots here behind the scenes. Another thing is, if you follow certain content creators, like one, for example, I will use is Clownfish TV. I believe it was last year. There came out an article saying that Hasbro's, who owns Wizard of the Coast, was not interested in making video games anymore. Was not interested in making toys anymore. They want to make straight video games. So it's no secret that maybe they've created Skeleton Key to create Baldur's Gate 4 or some other D&D title or Magic the Gathering title. So I wouldn't be surprised there if that's what they're going to do, especially since it's Wizard of the Coast's development studio. Any company that hires Bush is taking a massive risk, not just in terms of potential financial losses, but in terms of reputational damage. His tenure at BioWare demonstrated complete unwillingness to listen to any actual player feedback, and his involvement with the Belgard turned what could have been a highly anticipated RPG into an industrial life for years to come. Now, I do want to mention that some people are going to say, well, you know, it's his fault he oversaw the Dragon Age Belgard. Well, I'm going to point out he saw the last rungs of Belgard. Dragon Age Belgard was in development hell for 10 years and was originally called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Now it's called Dragon Age Belgard, and he saw that last bit of production, probably made the changes as well. So while he is the end-all be-all solely responsible for people thinking he did the whole 10 years, no, he was working on The Sims and stuff like that before he became the creative director. So for all we know, it could have been a great game until he came in. I'm not going to say it was because we don't know, right? But in the end, the first role leadership, everything is your fault because you make all the calls. Now, with Wizard of the Coast already struggling to maintain goodwill with its player base, adding a controversial figure like Bush into the mix only raises even more concerns about the company's potential future. It's no wonder they wanted to keep this hiring quiet because they all know exactly how bad this looks and how the entire gaming community would react. I also want to point out, I don't know if he mentioned it, but I'm going to put out BioWare Austin, former BioWare Austin boss Christian Daly, right? Well, Green Bush was also with BioWare, right? So a lot, and then BioWare laid off a lot of people. I'm not saying that it was a. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy here, but I would not be surprised if a lot of these senior writers, senior studio level executives, and uh, Dragon Age team leads would now work over at Skeleton Key. With now what? Wizard of the Coast's decision to bring Green Bush on board is yet another sign that there's still companies out there moving further away from what most of its players actually want. If the failures of Dragon Age of Veilguard weren't enough to prove that Bush's vision for gaming is out of touch with reality, then the only time will tell how much damage he will do at Wizards. While this did begin as a rumor, my source was able to confirm that yes, this is true, which has indeed been hired by Wizards. And he did give the Virgin Dragons credit as the original source. One thing's for certain, the backlash is coming, and when it does, Wizards won't be able to hide this mistake for long. Yes. Now, I want to point out that it's great that we have people in the industry that are fighting back and coming to content creators with their stuff. And I want to shout out Smash JT for saying his source has said it's confirmed. Right? I mean, it's still, when you think about it, it's still hearsay. But he's saying his source has said it, not him. I want to make that out. So it's still circumstantial. All right, but Smash has had a lot of good sources in the past. And then and what makes this believable is WOTC has been known to do this. They got rid of the philanthropy for necromancers because Jews, and they said that orcs aren't evil, and now they're Hispanic. Right? They moved out of Monster Book. So a lot of things, they're making a lot of changes for races and stuff like that. And not focusing on what makes the game great. Right? So you can I'd like to know your comments on this, what y'all think. But I decided to look at Skeleton Key, and I clicked all this stuff to see if there was like a game thing or something. Right? Policy. See, it's owned by Wizards of the Coast. They don't have like anything in here. They don't have their team. They don't have a game they're making. Nothing. There's like nothing in here. All they have is based in Austin, Texas. Skeleton Key is a game development studio of passionate creators inspired by great games, toys, and stories and toys. That passion for play is what motivates us and our desire to create amazing interactive experiences. I'm not going to say that you're going to go woke because there's no proof, but since they're owned by WOTC and WOTC has a history of this and they go by WOTC's policies, one can speculate that it's going to be woke games, and you'd probably be 90% correct, maybe even 100% correct because of the constant track record. And you might be saying, well, I'm saying this to WOTC, but I'm not going to say this with Kingdom Come Deliverance. Well, I also was noticed, and I'll make another video separately about that. But IGN did confirm that there is a way to make Henry gay. I never said that wasn't the case. I said we can only speculate because there's not a lot of proof, and reviewers have said they haven't been forced into a scene like that. And I'm going to cover a video on it and my thoughts, but there was no concrete proof. Now we have concrete proof. IGN actually had posted a video of it. You can see it. You can see how they did it, all that stuff. That's what I mean when I say concrete proof, right? When it came to Dragon Age the Veilguard, I already knew when they said challenge the gods, and people were like, oh, well, you didn't really follow the lore. No, I did follow the lore. I had an argument with someone who called me someone who called me psychotic, not realizing that before I started Dragon Cast and everything else, when you see my intro videos for past news I made, in there it says psychotic dragon. So when you're saying you don't want to insult me, but I'm psychotic, how can you insult someone who already calls himself psychotic? All right. Well, my point is that they were ranting and raving, and I just gave them facts on the lore, this and that, and we argued about it. My point is that Dragon Age Veilguard, the director, made all these claims to own the chuds. And me personally, I said I don't know how I feel about this. I want it to be a great game, and I was gonna wait and see because it wasn't gonna follow the lore. And I was hoping I was wrong. Okay. So I watched Hypnotic and Vet Gamer Bro Chiefus, or I call him Bo. If y'all haven't followed me for long, me and Bo did the first Ascendant together. You can find that in a playlist. I watched their streams, and I didn't once I couldn't stand it very much. It was not Dragon Age. And obviously from the reviews we saw, it was true, right? These people reviews say it's not for Dragon Age fans. Some people liked it, some people did it, but it failed to meet profits, right? So it was something that we could see and predict based on constant track record. With Daniel Vibra and all that stuff, there is a there are people saying that he's lying about stuff, or he's went woke, or he's being forced. But with the track record of KCD and his consistency and keeping his cards close and not revealing too much about the game, we are forced to play the game. And already there's a red flag being confirmed. So we're still going to play it tonight, right? But here, all they show is their creative culture and their looking like they're hiring. They don't show their, like most what game websites, game development websites, they'll show their teams. They'll show their games that they've made. This is brand new, and they haven't posted too much information, right? So, yeah, but what do y'all think? Do y'all think the rumor is true? If y'all think the rumor is true, I would appreciate it if you give me your thoughts. I don't care about too long, didn't read. If you think the rumor is true that Greenbush is hired, give your reasoning why. Me personally, I think it's leaning to be very true because number one, Smash has not given me anything, any wrong data thus far, and two, there's the person in charge of Skeleton Key used to work at BioWare, so it makes sense to hire your buddy or your former colleague if they're out of a job and you have a position. That happens in every industry, so there's a good chance for that. And the fact that WOTC has always doubled down when things are woke and broke, and they think they're too big to fail. But we'll see. Anyways, this is Lavistro the Dragon saying, happy gaming.
Worlds clash in endless collision. Gaming news with a fierce precision. With a spark so wild it breaks the norm. In the tempest eye of cyberstorm. Reclaim gaming in Dragon Cast. Fire breathing wide, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd.